What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday covering the NFL mainly, but also the NBA and sprinkling a little bit of hockey and MLB playoffs along the way. Happy Labor Day to everyone. It's a Monday, but we're still back at it. It is officially NFL Week 1, so if you're not excited, then I don't know what to say because it's here. Football is around the corner. We had a great weekend of college football. We'll quickly recap on. But then today, we're officially predicting the Week 1 games. Like I said, Week 1 has arrived, and this will be a good way to keep track of all my games. I use this Pool Host account in a league with like 40 plus people, so we'll see how we match up and get a full season record prediction. So I'm excited to pick 16 full games because obviously every team plays the first couple weeks of the season. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting. My name, I'm using the same name as last year, Donald MVP as a Vikings fan, and that name came closer to what I thought it'd be. So shout out Sam Darnold last year, gonna rock with the same name, even though I'm a Vikings fan. What he did for us last year, but yeah, we'll do a game by game analytical breakdown of who we think will win, or who I think will win. I got predict some upsets in there as well. But with that being said, quickly want to recap about the college weekend. It was a crazy weekend, starting off with Ohio State, Texas, very low scoring. The biggest thing was the most anticipated debut of Arch Manning, the Heisman favorite. And honestly, it was a struggle for sure for him. They were only able to score 7 points, and Ohio State's defense just looked dominant. Matt Patricia schemed up some great schemes that really threw the Texas offense off. I think that was something underrated. I had Texas winning the game, but Texas defense did its job. Obviously, when you only allow 14 points, but Ohio State just took care of the football. Crucial interception by Arch Manning in the second half. And unfortunately, they still had a chance at the end of the game, but just some pressure dialed up, forced Arch to get rid of the ball. It didn't work out. And then some other big games. FSU, Florida State, after 2 seasons ago, going 13-0, missing the college football playoffs. Then last year, high expectations. DJ Ugalele transferring in. They finished 2-10, one of the most disappointing seasons. They bring in Tommy Castellanos, the BC quarterback, and boy, that RPO scheme really got Alabama threw them off, and they pretty much dominated their home game, 31-17. And obviously, there's a lot of concern for Alabama. The offense, Ty Simpson, didn't do too bad. It was just, the defense really left him out to dry. They couldn't run the ball as effectively as Florida State, obviously. And like I said, that RPO scheme, Castellanos had a great year at BC last year, and he's ready to take a big step in Mike Norvell's offense this year. And they did just that, putting themselves back on the map potentially for another maybe college football playoff run. Who knows? And then LSU Clemson was another big one. Another low scoring one. I was really surprised given the way Clemson ended last year, that offense, Cade Klubnik, they could not get anything going. LSU's defense, put their throat down. And then Garrett Nussmeier made some big throws, didn't turn the ball over, and LSU was able to sneak out a close one. So great games. And then last night ended with a banger with Miami and Notre Dame. Miami went up big early. Carson Beck was dealing. They took like a 21-7 lead in the fourth quarter. Notre Dame comes rallying back, and then a kicker who won the kicking battle in training camp. I forget his name, like Carson something. He was able to hit a big kick to help Miami with a minute left win that game, 24-21. Great game, though. Once again, a 6 versus 10 matchup, getting a lot of great week 1 games. And hopefully it ends time with a banger with Bill Belichick making his much anticipated coaching debut against TCU. So that'll be fun. Yeah, a lot of great games. Exciting, see how it continues. It was great to see some great week 1 matchups. Obviously, there were some blowouts where Ole Miss, I feel like week 1 always drops like 60 points. Iowa ran the football really well for their big game. So it was a lot of, great stuff. One of the biggest surprises that was UCLA and Nico Iamaleava, just with the NIL, goes over to UCLA. They got smoked. I forget, maybe it was Utah or something. 42-10. Very disappointing game. Very inaccurate game for Nico. So hopefully they can bounce back. But with that being said, it's also week 1 for the NFL, and we're going to predict game by game. Just my analysis, what I think will happen in each one. Maybe give a lock of the week, but this will be perfect with Pool Host. You're able to keep track of your game by game for the season. So we'll see how it turns out. But with that being said, we have Dallas versus Philadelphia Thursday to open it up. And this one I'm excited for. Obviously, these two teams know each other very well. Philadelphia raising their banner. You got to go with the Eagles here. better defense, especially with Dallas trading away Micah. They did sign Deron Bland to an extension. So that secondary can maybe make a couple ball hawking plays. But Saquon Barkley in this Philadelphia offensive line, I feel like they'll just be able to bully Dallas. Dallas will be able to put up some points with CD, Dak still there. But still, Jake Ferguson, but they still got some depth problems. Will the offensive line be able to hold up against Philly's elite defensive line, despite losing guys like Milton Williams? They still have elite playmakers like Nolan Smith, guys that just step up every year. So I like Philly to win this one. Dallas might hang around for a little bit, but Philly just overall the better team playing in front of that home crowd. You got to go with the Eagles in that one. Next game, the Friday Brazil game. We had a great one with the Eagles Packers last year. That was pretty fun. And we have a good one, anticipated one, Chiefs Chargers. This one I think is going to be a close one. Obviously, another division rival. Andy Reid, how will they bounce back after a Super Bowl loss? The Chargers trying to build off last year, obviously losing Rashawn Slater hurts. And I'm going to go, seems like Kansas City does this every time. I'm going to go Kansas City in a close one. And if the Chargers had Slater, I'd probably pick them. But George Karlaftis, I just see them breaking through, maybe getting a big strip sack on Justin Herbert when they're trying to lead a game-winning drive. The Chargers, with Amari Hampton, should be able to run the ball. Najee Harris, if he plays. And then, Ladd McConkey, but they still have some questions at depth for receiver, where the Chiefs, I know they're missing Rashid Rice for the first 6 games, but Xavier Worthy had a strong end, big playoff run for him. You still have Travis Kelce, Pacheco come back fully healthy. You're able to keep Trey Smith. And, they're just going to look for, I think, a little bit of a revenge tour. I think we're going to get a better Patrick Mahomes regular season. I think they'll just find a way to just close one out. And then the Sunday slate, where it all begins. Tampa Bay, Atlanta. This is going to be a very exciting one when these two teams played in Atlanta. Kirk Cousins threw for like 500-plus yards in a shootout in an overtime win. I think that was the peak Kirk Cousins we saw in Atlanta for those couple weeks. He was on fire. Now it's Michael Penix, starting his first full season versus Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. I like the Bucs. I think, defense-wise, they're a little bit better. They got a dangerous front seven. Atlanta's coached by Raheem Morris, but they weren't really that great defensively last year. They didn't really add too many pieces on that end as well. I know they did draft a couple guys, but, rookies is kind of tough to anticipate. But for Tampa, I trust their weapons. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, a very solid offensive line led by Tristan Wirfs. And then, Emeka Egbuka making his debut. So despite not having Chris Godwin, I trust Tampa Bay's offense just a little bit more. But Michael Penix, I think Drake London, Bijan Robinson, they'll be able to move the ball. This will definitely be a close game, and division matchups in week 1 are always fun. In week 1, you never know what to expect. Some teams just go off week 1. So it'll be exciting to see that. And then Cincinnati, Cleveland, Joe Flacco, obviously starting for the Browns, Kevin Stefanski, trying to run things back from their magical run 2 years ago where they went like 7-1 together, something crazy like that. Joe Flacco was sleeping at halftime during games. They're blowing teams out. But I don't think we'll see quite the same. That Cleveland offensive line has gone through some, turnover the past couple of years. They don't have a as reliable of run game now that Nick Chubb, after suffering those injuries. It's going to be tough. I think, Cleveland with Jerry Jeudy, they might be able to score some they definitely will be able to score some points against the Cincinnati defense. But Cincinnati, they're not fooling around this preseason. Joe Burrow played at least 2 games. Jamar Chase was in there. They're warmed up. You got T. Higgins back. They were able to sign Trey Hendrickson, so they do have at least one of their key defensive players back. Can Shamar Stewart make an impact in his rookie season? I think this will be a Cincinnati. I think this will be a year they don't start off slow, and they cannot lose this game. If they lose this game, you might as well say they're not making the playoffs, because you have to beat the Cleveland Browns, who are competing for a top 3 pick. I got to ride with Cleveland here, Cincinnati. I just trust their offense more, and I think the defense can do enough to at least get 1 or 2 stops, despite how porous they might be. But given how bad their defense is, Cleveland can definitely get some points and keep this interesting. But I don't anticipate Cincinnati's offense to start off slow, and they can't, like they have the past couple of years. And then next one, Miami, Indianapolis. I'm a little bit intrigued. Daniel Jones starting. They got some playmakers, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman come back, Jonathan Taylor, Quinn Nelson lead that offensive line. And the defense is always steady with DeForest Buckner, guys like Kenny Moore. I think, Julian Blackmon, they'll be solid, but Miami looking to have a bounce back. You have Tua, when he's healthy, Miami's able to win. Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and I haven't seen the injury report. I assume Achane will give it a go. week one. I just like Miami's offense a little bit more. I trust them to win. I think it'll also be a close game in Indianapolis. I think Daniel Jones will have a better year than he did the last 2 years with the Giants. And I think, Shane Steichen's desperate needs. That's why I turned to him over Anthony Richardson. Will take care of the ball and, try and still hit some plays with his legs. But overall, this Miami front seven, I think, can contain Taylor enough. If you force Daniel Jones to throw the ball a lot, that's not going to be a great recipe. But Tyreek Hill should be good to go. I trust this Miami offense, fully healthy. They're going to put up points. And I have them, week one, they tend to perform at a peak in a dome. This offense should have no problem moving the ball. So give me Miami. Carolina, Jacksonville. This is going to be a very close one. Two teams, with a lot, at stake here. I think, Bryce Young is looking to build off his ending last season, and Trevor Lawrence is desperate for a good year. They traded up to get Travis Hunter. You have Brian Thomas Jr., and then Carolina drafted McMillan. Ted McMillan is what I'll call him because I can't pronounce the first name. But Arizona receiver, Xavier Legette entering year 2. Chuba Hubbard, running back. I think Dave Canales in, this defense gets Derek Brown back, so the run defense should be a little bit better. But still, I think this will be a game where both teams are able to move the ball. I think their offenses are definitely more their strength right now, especially for Jacksonville, just what they invest in. But yeah, it should be a good one down in Duval. I'm excited. But give me Carolina in the slight upset. I think, Bryce Young will continue to build off his season. You have Jalen Cooker over there. I think this offense will just have enough, and I think it'll be, one of those close games, 24-24. Carolina is able to deliver some big-time throws and win it. But, with that being said, Jacksonville, with Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, I'm expecting a big year out of Trevor Lawrence, whether it's Travis Etienne back there, or what's the guy's name? Tank Bigsby. He showed some promise. So Jacksonville's offense should be much improved this year under Liam Cohen. But give me Carolina, just the way they ended last season. I trust them a little bit more, and I think they'll try and build off last season. They were comfortable trading away on dealing with the Vikings because they trust this young receiver core. So I'm excited to see it, and then also see them go up against Travis Hunter. Maybe we get some McMillan versus Hunter, so that'll be exciting. Then another great game. We have the Las Vegas Raiders that made a lot of moves, and the New England Patriots that made a lot of moves. The Patriots, two new head coaches, but also previous head coaches, Mike Vrabel with the Titans, Pete Carroll, obviously with Seahawks. They trade for Geno Smith. They draft GNT. For now, Jacoby Myers is there. So I assume he'll play week one. You never know after the requesting trades. Everyone's requesting trades nowadays. I think this game will also be close. New England's going to want to run the ball, and I think Vegas is obviously going to want to run the ball. And I think just comes down to which offense I trust more. I think I trust the Vegas, obviously, just with Geno, the experience he's had and success with Pete Carroll. GNT is obviously a playmaker, Brock Bowers. But the Patriots defense is also solid. Christian Gonzalez up there. The front seven can, if they can get after Geno, Geno's always prone to making one or two mistakes. It's really going to come down to, I think, the Vegas Raiders offense versus the Patriots defense. I think it's just going to be one of those games where it's mucky, running the ball, but what quarterback do I trust more? I think Drake May's awesome, but I think it's going to take a little bit of work. I got the Raiders winning, and I'm always skeptical with these 1:00 games where West Coast team travels, but it's week one. You have to be ready, or it's not even like we're in the middle of the season, where I'd probably take the Patriots, honestly, just because that home field advantage can be so big. It's going to be a great game, though. Obviously, I just trust, the Raiders offense a little bit more and the quarterback situation a little bit more. And I think the defense with Max Crosby can make one or two plays to help them secure this, but it's going to be a field goal type game. Patriots made a lot of improvements to the offensive line. Will Campbell, getting Stephon Diggs, and Mike Vrabel is going to want balanced run with Stevenson and Antonio Gibson, and obviously Travion Henderson, a receiving back. So they got weapons for Drake May. I think they're going to be able to put up some points against this suspect Raiders defense, but I just trust the experience I've seen with Geno and Pete Carroll to slightly edge out the Patriots, but Patriots are definitely going to have a bounce back year. And then Arizona, New Orleans. For me, this is my lock of the week. I'm taking the Cardinals, and I just realized I've taken pretty much a lot of road teams, so it's kind of funny. But Saints compete for the number one overall pick, starring Spencer Rattler. I do like him, and maybe they'll be able to put up some points with Rashid and Olave. But Arizona's defense, the way they ended last season, top 10 EPA per play. Kyler Murray, though, I think he'll be able to find a success here early. I think Marvin Harrison will have a big year. James Conner's always solid. Trey McBride's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. So I think Arizona is one of the most complete teams, and obviously I was high on them to win the NFC West, in which a division I think a team can go 1-4. But give me the Cardinals. I think lock of the week, Arizona has it against New Orleans. Then up next, another 1 p.m. game that I forgot. So many teams playing. Pittsburgh versus New York. This is going to be a scrappy game. This could be like a 17-13 muck it up type of game. But I'm just going to go once again with another road team. The experience of Pittsburgh here. Both defenses are very solid. The Jets, after losing Robert Saleh, their defense definitely fell off. I expected them to bounce back a little, but DJ Reed, losing him does hurt. You still have Sauce Gardner, Quillen Williams up front. That front seven can maybe get after it, but Aaron Rodgers versus Justin Fields. Justin Fields is going to want to scramble. Pretty sure you won't be able to do that with TJ Watt coming back fully healthy off that extension. Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, still one of the best front sevens. They trade away Minkah Fitzpatrick, bring in Jalen Ramsey. I think this is just one of those games. Yeah, it's going to be ugly, similar to Pittsburgh Atlanta last year, where it was like 15-10 or something like that, where Pittsburgh only won off of field goals. Wouldn't surprise me. But Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit, but still not in love with Arthur Smith in the scheme. But I think, Aaron Rodgers, he'll be able to take care of a little bit of the ball as long as he's protected, and wanting to get a win against, the team that basically said, we're done with you in his last season. I think Aaron Rodgers will at least make a statement here and at least give Pittsburgh off to a 1-0 start. Next up, 1 p.m. game, finally get a home team win here. Washington, Terry McLaurin's back. I mean, Jayden Daniels, what we saw just from last season, this season, they added Deebo Samuel to be another playmaker, Laremy Tunsil up front. The team's going to be good. And the defense, I think, for the New York Giants, if they are able to get after Jayden Daniels, but the problem is he's able to avoid sacks so good. But this game could be mucky. Giants front seven is one of the best in the leagues with Dexter Lawrence, Thibodeau, Burns, getting Abdul Carter. And obviously Russell Wilson will in Malik Neighbors. They'll be able to move the ball, I think, a little bit, but still the question mark remains with that offensive line because Russell Wilson can't scramble and play like he did last time. But I think with Brian Daboll, just Russell Wilson won't turn the ball over as much. They'll be able to find some consistent offense, but I just don't think they'll be able to keep up with Washington. It's as simple as that. Tennessee, Denver, loving the Broncos this year. They got better on defense after being the number one ranked defense. And then also just, being getting Bo Nix some help. Bo Nix had a great rookie season, really got better as the year went on. And then you add guys like Evan Ingram to that room, J.K. Dobbins in the backfield. Cortland Sutton is still a great wide receiver. I think Cam Ward, it's going to be some growing pains for this Brian Callahan offense week one, having to go to Denver and that altitude. I think it's just one of those games where Denver wins 24-10. I like Cam Ward, but this is just not the right week one matchup. And I think Titans fans would agree to that. But, if Cam Ward shows promise against this team and is able to dot them up, then boy, you can already give him rookie of the year because that would be so impressive. Then another one, another division one. I'm excited for this one. 405 San Francisco 49ers looking to bounce back with Brock Purdy versus Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. This is going to be a great game, but I think this is where these two teams split, and I'll take Seattle at home. I'm excited to see what they can do with Gray Zabel and that offensive line. I think people may be better than they expect. But, still it's going to be a question mark, and Sam Darnold is prone to taking a lot of sacks, as we saw the last two games of the regular season, especially in that Rams game where he was sacked like 9 times. It was like a tied for a playoff career high. But, I think they'll be able to move the ball. Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker, split backfield. Very good. Jack Smith-Njigba, Cooper Kupp looking to have a bounce back year. But San Francisco, I think, will also be able to move the ball. Juwan Jennings, George Kittle, still great. The offensive line I have question marks about, but McCaffrey should be healthy. Kyle Shanahan is always great after losing seasons. I think San Francisco is going to be dangerous. I know I predicted them to, not make the playoffs, but it would not surprise me at all if they did. It's just the offensive line is a big question mark. And can that defense get back to the top 10 unit it was in its Super Bowl years? You still have Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, but some guys on the back end secondary is what scares me. So yeah, we'll see. It should be interesting, but I'm excited. And then a great one, a 425 matchup, NFC North, Detroit versus Green Bay. Micah Parsons in Green Bay now. I didn't predict Green Bay to make a playoffs. And then, of course, 5 hours later, I had Green Bay, at 10 wins still. It's just that division is so competitive. It's now there. I think they're definitely going to be a playoff team with Micah. He's a top 3, if not one of the best defensive player in the league. But Detroit, some new coordinators, but it's going to be the same thing. They're going to run the ball with Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, play action, St. Brown, Jameson Williams. Their offense will be solid. They're getting some key defensive guys back. This is a game I really think is a toss-up. I think, you could lean either way in this one. It's 50-50, but you know what? I'm going to respect the Packers and what they did getting Micah Parsons. I think they make a statement week 1 and get like a game-winning field goal. And I think they're going to split this season. And, I'll just go with the home team in this one. I think Jordan Love with Matthew Golden might provide a different spark to this offense. And I think, it might be some growing pains, with a new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. But although I think it will be a lot of the same. But I think Detroit losing guys up center like Frank Ragnow, the right guard, that Kevin Zeitler that went to Tennessee. I think it's just going to be tough. And I think Green Bay will be able to get some more pressure with Rashawn Gary, Micah Parsons, and just disrupt Jared Goff to get a win or win at home against, a great NFC foe and probably the second favorite besides Philadelphia to come out. And then next up, Houston, Los Angeles. This is going to be a good one. CJ Stroud hoping to have a bounce back year, but the problem is it's just the offensive line. And now that Matthew Stafford looks good to go, I have my opinions change on the Rams. I think with Nakua, with Devontae Adams there, I trust their offense to move the ball. And maybe Stafford's back gives out week 2. We don't know. I hope not, because he's one of the best to watch. I know he's aging. Although the Texans defense could provide a lot of problems. This is a close one, actually. And, but the way the Rams defensive ended last season, Jared Verse being top 5 in pressures, this might be another one similar to the Steelers Jets, where it might just be a slugfest. And I like Nico Collins and CJ Stroud, but Joe Mixon not going to be ready. I just trust the Rams weapons a little bit more to get this done. Might be like a 20-13 type game, but I'm going to ride with the Rams. And then the Sunday night game, a AFC division matchup. They always bless with a good week 1. The Baltimore Ravens versus the Buffalo Bills. I am riding with the Baltimore Ravens in a close one. I think as long as they don't turn the ball over like 3 times like they did in the divisional, where Buffalo did a good job taking care of it, I got to ride the Baltimore Ravens here. Definitely 2 of the top 3 quarterbacks are playing. The MVPs the last 2 years. But I just trust the Ravens supporting cast more. The Buffalo Bills, Amari Cooper went to the Raiders, which is fine because Josh Allen will make, Khalil Shakir. I'm excited to see Keon Coleman year 2, Dalton Kincaid, still have James Cook, but the Ravens, Lamar, Derrick Henry, I don't know, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers. I just trust that more. And the way their defense ended last season, one of the best secondaries of football with Nate Wiggins, Kyle Hamilton. I just trust this Ravens team a little bit more, and I think as long as they keep the turnovers down, they're the slightly better team, despite being in Buffalo. It's week 1, so the weather won't be as big of a factor. I like the Ravens here in a close one. Buffalo will be able to put up some points with Josh Allen, obviously, just what he does, special talent. But, I think the Ravens have more higher-end talent, and I think they'll be able to pull this out and get their revenge from the week 1. And then lastly, to end it, a Monday night, another NFC North game, 2 teams. So we have Lions, Packers playing, and Vikings, Bears. I'm excited for this one. As a Vikings fan, JJ McCarthy making his first start, Caleb Williams under Ben Johnson should be a great one. But this is also one of the games where I think it's pretty, Bears at home, that crowd's going to be raucous. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a close one, but I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think they're just better all around. The additions they made up front with Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, drafting Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. Rookies are a bit of a question mark, but that interior was really bad for them last year, and they still won 14 games. And the defense, they did get Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave. You already have Gernard Van Ginkel. So that's one of the best front sevens in football with Blake Cashman as well. And then in the secondary, you still have some veteran guys like Harrison Smith. That you did lose Cam Bynum, but you still have Byron Murphy, who was a stud last year. It's going to be a good one. Josh Metellus is always solid, but the Bears defense is solid with Brisker, Jalen Johnson. That front seven will be able to, if they can pressure McCarthy enough, rattle him, I think it could then get ugly for Minnesota. But, I just trust their team more. I think Ben Johnson's a head coach. It might take a little bit. Caleb Williams, I think they'll definitely be improved, the Bears, but I think the Vikings roster is just overall better with question marks at quarterbacks because we really don't know because I'm treating this as kind of a new season for Caleb Williams, so new scheme as well. While McCarthy's been in the scheme last year and kind of learned a lot, Ben Johnson's scheme is very complicated. So I think it might take a little bit, but the Bears are still going to be very solid. And I could easily see them winning this game, just at home, maybe throw Minnesota off because Ben Johnson has had some success against Brian Flores. And they did upgrade that offensive line, but I still think Minnesota's defense, one of the best front sevens in the league. But if Rome Odunze, DJ Moore are able to cook guys like Isaiah Rodgers and Jeff Okudah that are question marks in the cornerback room, I could see this definitely being interesting. But I think it's going to be one of those gritty games. Give me the Vikings 23-20. So with that, for a tiebreaker, in case we tie, if I tie with other guys in amount of pick games, right? You have to do the tiebreaker. So 23-20, so 53 total points. So yeah, just to recap quick, I have Philly beating Dallas, Kansas City beating Chargers, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, got Tampa, Cincinnati over Cleveland, Miami over Indianapolis, Carolina over Jacksonville, I said I was combining Vegas and Raiders. So Las Vegas beating New England, Arizona beating New Orleans, Pittsburgh outdueling the Jets, Washington beating New York, Tennessee beating Denver, Seattle beating San Fran, Green Bay beating Detroit on what I think will be like a game-winning field goal, Rams over Texans, Baltimore over the Bills, which would be a fun one, and then the Vikings to beat Chicago to end week 1. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Week 1's here, so you have to be excited. Let me know who your favorite team is. As always, make sure to like, subscribe, and if you enjoy this kind of content, and make sure to comment, what picks do you disagree with? Am I sleeping on, one team? I'm always excited to get your guys' thoughts. But with that being said, as always, make sure to like and subscribe. NFL season's here. We're going to be producing a lot of NFL content. So if you enjoyed that, make sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one. Peace.